Hi you guys, hope you're having a good day. I had a few minutes and I wanted to let you know I'm reviewing a movie, and I don't go to see very many movies these days. I just don't have time. It's not a priority, and I used to see a lot more movies, but now it's rare. And I happened to see one yesterday called Death of a Nation, and I went to see it because of Dinesh D'Souza, who seems like a really good guy to me. I saw him on Alex's show, and he's done a lot of good work before. So this one's called Death of a Nation. Excellent historical information on both of the U.S. political parties. Well, a lot of the information I was not aware of, so it was good. The main theme of it is looking at the current position of the U.S. now, of America now under the current president, and comparing the whole situation to about 150 years ago, or 160, 70 years ago, when Lincoln was in power, and comparing the current president to Lincoln and their two attitudes. And it was really interesting, and I think there are a lot of good things about Lincoln. I also have noticed that a lot of historians bring up the fact that he had not a very evolved attitude toward race. Unfortunately, he's known as this guy was really fighting against slavery, but really there were a lot of other things involved. But he did do some good things, which we may have time to go into later. But he was comparing that to the current president, and the movie is in support of the current president, greatly in support of him, and encouraging people to help him accomplish the goals to heal various elements that are happening in America right now, which I think is good. And I would agree with Dinesh that the current president is probably the greatest we've had to date, not because he knows everything or because even all of his actions or information are correct. That's not the main issue. It's his attitude and his motive, and things that you wouldn't know if you were just watching mainstream television. It doesn't matter, mainstream, right, left, government, NPR, whatever. They slander the current president 24 hours a day, and they black out any news on what he does that's positive. And there's a lot that he does that's positive, and you'll never hear about it on the New York Times, Washington Post, the normal mainstream media. But Dinesh is apparently aware of it, as I am, and he says support this guy. And the reason that I agree with him is because the current president, believe it or not, from what you hear in the media, is in that office as a service to try to help the country. He's sacrificed huge amounts of money for his own private business and life, and put himself and his family in danger. He doesn't have to do that kind of stuff. And he understood a lot of what was happening to America on purpose. This movie is about some of that and comparing to what was happening during Civil War times, which is an interesting comparison. He also goes into the whole German Third Reich issue, because people call the current president every nasty name that they can think of. One of the names they really like to call him is Nazi, and they don't even understand what Nazi means. The name is a contraction of the words national and socialist, and Hitler was a national socialist. That was what he named the party, and you know what he did with it, or you know some of what he did with it. There's no comparison between what he did as a total racist, which Hitler was, and Trump is completely the opposite. He's a unifier. He's only a racist in the imagination of the slander that's on the media right now. And you have to be smart enough to see through that, because it's actually completely not true, and this movie exposes some of that. And it's really an interesting movie, and it talks about the things that are at stake in America right now, and the need to bring everybody together in a move to unify the people with common interests, and understand that if you work for the benefits of your own nation, whether it's America or Russia or an African country or Mexico or Canada or Argentina, whatever country you're in, if you work for the true interests of that country, that's a move toward world peace. And it's something that the media doesn't want us to understand. But if you've got sovereign, independent countries standing on their own and then cooperating for their mutual benefit, that's a really good situation. And you don't need an outside third party like the United Nations or some agency overseeing the commerce and the interactions between the different countries. So anyway, those are the issues that Dinesh D'Souza is talking about in this particular movie. It's really well done. The reason that the movie is also so important is because the entire mainstream media, which is just the mouthpiece of about a handful of corporations, global corporations, and the government agencies and all of the negative influences worldwide, are all against the current U.S. president. Dinesh is trying to step up and tell the truth about him and say why it's important to support him, why he's not a Nazi, and that sort of thing. The reason that he's hated, which should give you a clue that he's not as terrible as they say. If he was that terrible, they would love him if you understand what the power structure is really about. And if he ever finds out about all the issues that he seems to be unaware of, the toxic corporations that he's working with and the environmental issues that threaten the survival of the biosphere and are very urgent, and which he needs to get information on. If he ever finds out about those things, which he may, because there's a lot of us working on it, he would turn and move against those toxic corporations overnight, and that's why he's hated. That's why they feel that they have to get him out of office or assassinated or whatever they can do to remove him. That's what the Democratic Party happens to be totally aligned with the media and with the crazy people in the street that are rioting. They say they're anti-fascism, right? They don't even know what a fascism is, and they just want to beat people up and break things. And you know, they are closer to fascists than anybody else that I can think of right now. So all of that distraction aside, Dinesh is trying to bring some clarity to the issue and let people understand why the current president needs to be supported, not only for the good of the American future, but indirectly of the whole world. It's because of the attitude of the person that's in there, and that's why he's being attacked. So he needs everybody's support. The movie's excellent. I would suggest seeing it. I really didn't know a lot of the stuff that he brings up on the history of the Democratic Party. Super interesting. But, you know, both parties are actually corrupt. We just happen to have an individual in there who's trying to do some good. But both parties are representing interests that are completely corrupt and against the welfare of the country and the whole world. So ultimately, neither party is going to be the saving grace for America or any other country. It's going to be the character and the consciousness of the people. That's the main project that we have, not victory or defeat of any particular political party, but the quality and the intelligence of the people in the population. That's you and me and everybody. So at Lost Arts Radio, that's really what's behind our project. We're working for that. Raise consciousness, start with physical health, because that makes things much easier. You can work on the inner work if your body's not screaming in pain or distraction or distress or tension or discomfort, being sick all the time. If you can get rid of that junk, get rid of what's supposed to be normal aging, which is a bunch of nonsense, and it's because of mistakes we're making. Correct the mistakes, you can correct the effects. And so we're working on that. Physical health first, and then do the inner work based on that strong foundation. If you get interested in really starting to do that, like a New Year's resolution in the middle of the year or anytime, join us at lostartsradio.com/club. If not, if you don't want to get involved in that, just watch for these free videos. We'll put as much into them as we can. What we can't say publicly, we'll say in the club. You're personally invited there if you get ready for that. Otherwise, we'll be on our Sunday night guest show as usual. You're invited. That's free. All the archives are there. Go to lostartsradio.com and see all the archives whenever you want to. And we'll make the other videos as quickly as we can. It's really an honor to be here with you for a few minutes. I'm trying to do it every day. If you've noticed, it's hard to fit it in, but we're trying. And hopefully I'll see you on Saturday. Otherwise, have a great week, and I'll see you next time.